Oh my goodness. Well, we're back. If for those of you that missed the intro of the last live stream, I was explaining that YouTube was allowing me now to finally get live streaming up and running, and then that happened. So I just went live, and there was no audio. Um, and I don't know what's happening on YouTube. It looks like it's freaking out. So hopefully this has audio. Hopefully you can hear me and you can see me. But I will just repeat the 2 minutes of explanation that I just gave. Hopefully the couple of folks that were just on here jump back on. Sorry if that was a jam. I know that these technical difficulties can be kind of annoying, but back into it. Before I ended the stream because the audio wasn't working, I was explaining that. Good to hear. I was explaining that I haven't done a video on the channel, and I haven't been able to live stream in the last couple of weeks because YouTube will not recognize this camera. I don't know what's going on. It took me forever to figure it out, but I finally got it to, I just like reset all the permissions and shut everything down, and just, I honestly don't even know what I did. So it's working right now, but it is still giving me some issues. So I apologize if there's any other technical difficulties, but we are here. We're doing another live Q&A. I'm going to be jumping into the canning right now. This is, for those who have been on the stream before, you know what it's all about, but I am going to be canning some beer and talking about the brewery and talking about some other stuff. And hopefully this is mildly entertaining for you. And if it's not, then I'm sure you will jump off the stream, because if it's not entertaining, why would you stay on the stream? So without further ado, I'm going to get right into it. So I have not been posting on the channel in the last couple of weeks, primarily because of these technical difficulties. Like I just explained, I couldn't get live streaming working, and I spent about 3 hours last Friday and Saturday trying to get a stream going, and no good. So haven't been able to stream, but then also have not been making any quality YouTube videos because I have felt pretty, I don't know, mentally blocked when I sit down to do YouTube videos. I just feel like I'm not making great content, so I don't want to put anything out that's not, that doesn't bring any value to people, and it's just me talking into a camera, which is pretty much what this is, but at least it's more interactive and live. But yeah, so I haven't been doing any videos, and I feel pretty bummed about that. So hopefully I'm going to try to knock out some this week and maybe throw some shorts and stuff up. But I have been, dealing with brewery stuff. Pretty similar story around here at the brewery. It's been pretty slow, and it's kind of a weird time of the year because we are just now creeping into the summer months. And with that comes some weird weather. For those of you that don't know, Temple, Texas is where my brewery is, and we had a tornado hit Temple last Wednesday evening. So I was in Austin. I live in Austin, and I was in Austin and found out at night, and then came back up the next day to open the brewery and saw kind of all the pictures and the videos and stuff. But a tornado came through Temple, destroyed a bunch of stuff, had a ton of damage, but luckily nobody has died, which is amazing, or at least not that I've heard of. So that's really, really amazing. But lots of damage to businesses, specifically on the west side. We're on the east side of the highway, but on the west side there was an actual tornado that touched down. But overall, the whole city got hit with like 80 to 90 mile an hour straight line winds as well. So tons and tons of damage, tons of tree damage, roof damage, all fence damage, all that kind of stuff. So that's been pretty hard for the city. Luckily, Tanglefoot didn't really get affected by the tornado too much. We have a little shed that got some damage, but nothing crazy. And a lot of people were left without power for several days. And fortunately, we were not. So we are good on that front. So very fortunate there. Dude, owning and operating a brewery is enough for most people. Adding YouTube is a whole nother level of work. You're doing fine. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate the support. but this is more of an internal struggle where I'm like, I know I can put out videos. It's not that big of a deal. But I appreciate it. Thank you. YouTube content becomes less active. Nobody is going to think less of you whatsoever. Yeah, I appreciate the support. I feel that too. I like doing them. I like putting out videos, and I like the engagement with folks because I get a lot of feedback. A lot of people will message me and on Instagram and Facebook and stuff that they either brewed beers or are attempting to brew the beers that I posted and have questions and stuff. So I always like to follow up with more answers of questions that people commonly have. So that's kind of I guess that's the root of the frustration. But outside of that, that's all good. Yeah, I need to get some coffee in me. I got this super late this morning, so I'm pretty tired still. Also, last week, this is just going to turn into a live stream about frustrating things in Andy's life. But I think it was on Thursday after the day after the tornado, I was up here at Open, and I leave here at like 8:20 at night, depending on what time I close up. And I drove down 35, which it takes me literally an hour door to door most every day to get from the brewery home and vice versa. And I got stuck in Salado, which is like 15 minutes south of of Temple. And I was stuck in traffic there for 3.5 hours in a 1 mile stretch. So that was that really peeked into the depth of my character. I was about to lose it. I think everybody else on the highway was about to lose it too. But that was, whew, what a time. I don't recommend if anybody is offered a 3.5 hour traffic jam on the highway. I don't recommend doing it. I brewed your 12 degree Pilsner and it's drinking really well. I've now brewed your Tamabe. It's about to get cold crash, but smells amazing. Dope. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that Tamabe, the 12 degree is my favorite, but I think the Tamabe is the beer that is most unique, probably. So I think that beer kind of breaks a lot of people's preconception about dark beer because it's got so much flavor, but it is so balanced and drinkable. So I really enjoy that beer. I hope you enjoy it too. Also curious, did you use Byerman malts for your roasted malts? If not, I'd be curious to see what you did use. Because I use Byerman malts. I think they're the best roasted malts and makes that beer what it is. But curious to see if you don't have access to that, what you substituted. I know Simpsons does some good roasted malts as well. Breeze, maybe. Yeah, this is me just canning up. 12 degree. I'm going to be doing a little bit of 12, a little bit of 10, 13, and 14 today. I'm going to kind of hit all of them, but just do a few 6-packs of each. Today is June 1st, so we are officially getting into summer weather here in Texas. Outside of the tornado that happened here, we've had some pretty gnarly weather in general in Texas. There have been several tornadoes, but there have been also many giant thunderstorms, tons of rain. Our lake in Belton, which is a neighboring town to Temple and is the water source for all the area, has been pretty much half empty at a dangerous level for the last like 3 or 4 years. And it filled up in like 6 weeks with the amount of rain that we've had. So tons and tons of rain, lots of flooding, and a lot of hail that comes along with that. So the state has been getting it, and it does look like there's more rain in the forecast. So hopefully everybody is managing well. If y'all are in Texas, you know what I'm talking about. But if you are not in Texas, Texas weather can be pretty unpredictable and crazy. So hope that we don't get any more gnarly tornadoes with billions of dollars worth of damage. And I hope that I do actually hope that we keep getting rain. Maybe not as much rain as we've had, but I don't know. That drought that we had for years was pretty brutal. The lake was abysmal. I mean, you could see that the lake got so low that it started showing this like hidden mound of tires that people would just throw in the lake to dispose of them. No good. Not great. But yeah, and other beer news, for those that follow beer stuff, Deep Ellum is closing. If y'all are in the Texas area, even if you're not in the Texas area, they're a pretty big brand. But Deep Ellum opened in Deep Ellum, a part of Dallas, Texas, in like 2012, I think, and they kind of took the scene by storm. They had a IPA that really took off and became really popular, and their blonde, Dallas Blonde, became a huge selling beer in the area. They scaled production pretty quickly, and I don't know, they did a really good job of marketing. The beers were great too, and did a really great job of getting their beers out into the market. And then they got purchased by Canarchy, the Oskar Blues conglomerate, and then Oskar Blue, or the Canarchy portfolio, was then purchased by Monster Energy last year or the year before. I think that was like $1 billion+ acquisition. It was like a massive thing. Maybe it was $500 million, but so they got purchased by them. And then this week they announced that they'll be shutting down the brewery in Deep Ellum, as well as, brewery tap room. So I don't know if that's, I thought about this, because usually when news of somebody closing down a brewery comes out, people start speculating like why it happened, what's going on. And I usually have my own opinions. But on this one, I think it seems more like, a big conglomerate that has tons of production capacity all over the country, doesn't necessarily need to operate a single small, less efficient brew house. And so same thing that when they closed the Oskar Blues in Austin, they just didn't need that production capacity. So I don't think it's like, oh man, the tap room's dead or too slow, there's no way that they can sustain it. I think it's more about efficiency. So, but that's just my opinion. I don't know anything about their business or their finances, so I have no insight whatsoever. I'm just an idiot talking on a live stream. We drink a lot of beer here in Scotland that have roasted malts, 80 shilling, etc. But looking forward to trying this Tomate. Sweet, yeah, I love a good Scotch ale, 80 shilling. There used to be a beer from Odell's. Actually, my first beer I ever brewed in home brewing was a clone of this beer, but Odell Brewing in Fort Collins, Colorado brews a beer called 90 shilling, which is a Scotch ale, and it's just a solid, malty, drinkable beer. But yeah, that was the first ever batch of beer that I brewed, was an extract clone kit of 90 shilling. I've never done a Czech lager, but want to do one soon. Yeah, I get it. I hate asking for recipes, but I recall you have a grain bill in your video, so I'll probably start there. Yeah, go watch the videos. I've got the 10, the 12, the 13, the 22, and the 14. Every single one of the beers that I've made here at Tanglefoot, I've created recipes for them, and I have a YouTube video that corresponds and kind of walks you through the process. The recipes are on my website at tanglefootbrewing.com. They're under a weird section called Stories. So you can go on there and download it. It's for a 5-gallon batch, but you can plug those percentages into, a beer recipe calculator and scale it up or down however you see fit. But yeah, all the recipes that I make here are out there, and they're pretty simple. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, I also, what was it? I never made the beer here, but I did. People ask me a lot, like, hey, why don't you brew an 11? Because it goes like 10, 13, 12. And they're like, oh, the only number that's missing is 11. Well, the short answer is that it's just not different. 11 degree pale lager to me just wouldn't be that much of a differentiation from 10 and 12. But I did brew an 11 with a brewery, distillery / brewery in Waco called Balcones. They're good buddies of mine. And we did a, Bohemian floor malted Pils base with a different strain of yeast, I believe. I think we used, I think it was the Boudvar yeast. So we used a different yeast strain than I normally use, a different malt, a base malt than I normally use, and then we used some different hops. We used Sladek and now I can't remember. So some of those words are so hard to say, but Anyway, so I did brew an 11 degree. But the thing about these beers, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I'm just rambling. But the thing about these beers is that it's really about like proportions and starting and finishing gravities and bitterness. And it's all about the nuance. It's less about the like actual recipe, even though those are factors in the recipe. It's more about like, how do you take these ingredients and express them in a way that is the way that you want the final beer to be expressed. So I think the 10 and the 12 degree are a good example of how they're the exact same ingredients. There's nothing different about the process. They're literally the exact same ingredients, slightly different proportions, and a higher emphasis on bitterness, so a higher IBU count and a higher amount of hops in the late addition in the boil. So like a 10-minute addition with some Czech size hops for some aroma and flavor characteristics. But yeah, it's pretty cool especially when you brew a small set of beers like I do here, to see the nuances between the different beers, even though they use the same ingredients and are just barely different. Like the difference between a 10 degree starting gravity and a 12 degree starting gravity is not that drastic. I know it's 2, but it's not that crazy big of a difference. Cheers from Phoenix. What's up, Phoenix? I used to live in Scottsdale for a year. Big time. I loved it out there, by the way. I definitely want to go back. Actually, yeah, that's where I got my start in craft beer. That's where I brewed my first batch of homebrew when I was 20 years old. And that's where I turned 21 and went crazy and drank all the craft beer that I could get my hands on. Bruce, it's homebrew day. That's awesome. Good luck, man. Added a Lucre tap after finding your channel. Beautiful taps, not cheap, but definitely gives a better pour. Yep, they're awesome. They give a better pour. They look awesome, but they are not cheap. Like you said, all the things I just repeated what you said. But yeah, they're really fun too. They're fun to play around with. And milk pour, slow pour. Maybe I'll touch on that. Let me get set up to label these cans really quick, because that is something I don't think I've touched on in the channel before. All right. Nope, not that way. Okie dokie. Back here. Let's see, do y'all want to see this? Or do you want to see my face? Let's give you a shot of the actual labeling process. How about that? And my gut. Come on. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to pull out my 12 degree pale lager labels. I have just been doing this by hand recently because every time I mention in the stream that I get tired of dealing with the jankiness of that label applicator. So this is just a nice, relaxing time for handwork. So what I wanted to say was the slow pour thing that I just mentioned. For those of you who have ever heard of a slow pour beer, slow pour pills, a lot of people, rightfully so, associate the Lucre taps with the slow pour. So I get a lot of people that come in and they're like, hey, do you have a slow pour, or can you do a slow pour? And the answer is obviously yes, but it's usually a misnomer, because slow pour is a style of a pour that happens to utilize these Lucre taps. And it was popularized, at least to my knowledge, by Bierstadt Lager House in Denver. And what they do is they pour a bunch of foam, like a milk pour, with Lucre taps into a glass They let that foam settle, and then they fill it up with beer, and so it pushes the beer up like a souffle. So it's like the foam kind of solidifies and turns into a hard, like pillowy muffin top souffle that rises up, and it looks really cool. And they do use these Lucre taps because they can produce all that foam, but that is not what these taps are designed to do. They make it very easy to make that pour happen, but these taps are actually designed to pour beer fast. So you can create foam quickly, and you can pour beer quickly underneath that foam so that you can move through beers pretty quickly in a fast-paced bar setting. So I always think that's interesting to bring up when people ask about it, because while I do love it, and if anybody likes that style of pour, go look up Schweizer House. They are a beer pub in Austria that serves these incredible slow pour beers with a huge muffin top, and they serve only Budvar. But that is like, I don't know, I love that stuff. But not what these were designed to do specifically. Beautiful here. Just sucks brewing on a 118-degree day in the summer, but not giving up. Take care. Yeah, I hear you, man. Gets pretty hot back here in the brewery as well. Summertime is no joke, especially when you're working in a brewery with an open flame and you've got all that condensation from the beer just sitting in the air, making it disgustingly humid. That is the worst. I don't remember, actually. I think I only brewed extract batches on the countertop when I was in Arizona. I used to go to, I wonder if you, man, what's the spot that I used to buy homebrew supplies from? I remember there was Papago Brewing. I don't know if you've ever been there, but Papago Brewing, and then there was something else. But yeah, that place was a very formidable place for me, and the time of my life when I was turning 21 and getting into beer was just a huge influence on the direction of my life living out there in Arizona. I've only been back once since too, so I kind of miss it. I was in the restaurant industry when I was out there, so I made some friends, one of which who is actually coming to Austin in about a week or two. Shout out Jabari. He's a chef. He's out there in Phoenix killing it. So I'll see him in a couple of weeks. Right. Get one more, and then I'll get these in the fridge, and we can move on to the 10 degree. Okie dokie. Into the fridge. Hey, hello again. All right, let's move this back around to where it's not sitting on the water. Be cool if MacBooks were waterproof. Make it happen, Apple. Yeah, Orange Blossom, dude. That was the beer that was literally the beer that got me, like, that was like the first craft beer that I had there. I guess they really only have craft beer, but yeah, so that's so funny. I remember that place. All right. So let's get this going over here to the number 10. Oh, my dad's trying to come in here. Got to tell him I'm on the live stream. So we are going over to number 10. I'm on the live. Switch this up. Nice shirt. Hey. All right. Have a good one. I love you. Okay. This beer has been super finicky since I put it on. This one keg in particular is like not, for whatever reason, it was not carbonated. I don't know if it just had more headspace in the keg than more headspace and no pressure in the keg, but it took like 2 days for it to get up to like a normal carbonation level. So that was annoying, but now we got it rolling. 10 Degree is about to be my go-to beer because it is getting warm. I think it's supposed to be like 85 or 90 today. I have been drinking on that 14 though. For those who haven't been here, the 14 is tasting real nice. Amber lager. Oh. I used to have a problem with overcarboning beers, especially lagers. Watched your video on carbonation, started leaving my beer sitting at 10 psi, serving at 10 psi. Works perfectly. Yep, it works like a charm. Just takes a while. It's a little passive. Again, the biggest problem with carbonation here at Tanglefoot is I don't have a carbonation reader, so I don't have a way to check the amount of volumes of CO2 that are in solution. So I just have to guess. And usually it works out well, but it's based on kind of average times that I've carred beers before to get up to a certain level. But yeah, the passively set it and forget it. That's the way to go sometimes. I got to make a Czech pill soon. I'm brewing a Helles today for competition. Maybe that's the next lager in line for me. Do it. That'd be dope. Also, Helles is pretty great too. What kind of competition? I mean, I'm assuming a homebrewers competition, but is this where are you at? What's it all about? Is this a yearly thing? Does it happen frequently? I'm so out of the loop on homebrew that I don't even know how it works anymore. I never entered any competition beers myself on a homebrew scale. I have professionally before, but never did it on a homebrew scale. Did judge a couple of them, which can sometimes be not so great. Shout out to all the people that watch this channel that brew great beer. Love y'all, love what you do, but I've had some pretty not great beers from homebrewers in the past, which is kind of the whole point of me doing these videos to some degree, is that I hope people just make better beer. It's really not that hard. It just takes the time and energy and attention to detail, and just when you put it like that, it sounds a little harder. New Jersey State Fair homebrew competition. All right. My girlfriend's from New Jersey. What part of New Jersey is that in? Where's the state fair? We used to do, I don't know if breweries around y'all do it, but we used to do a homebrew competition for the brewery that I worked at in Austin, where we would put out a recipe or kind of like a basic style guide and open it up to homebrewers to submit samples, and then we would taste and pick the winners and ultimately brew that beer on the system with the people. So it was a pretty cool thing, and it ended up the same person won 2 years in a row, which is kind of neat. But you never know. Sometimes, honestly, like homebrew is so hit or miss because obviously some people just don't have the knowledge or the determination, I guess, to make it, to like take all the steps necessary to make good beer. But sometimes it's the packaging. Like you can have good beer, like hazy IPAs are a perfect example. If you brew a hazy IPA on a homebrew scale, when it's in the carboy, it's probably great, tastes great, smells great, but it's usually that bottling or transferring action that just picks up so much oxygen that you're then pouring this like murky brown, disgusting, muted, oxidized beer, and it's like you could do everything right, and then the one step that actually matters, just like one thing goes wrong, and then the whole beer's ruined. It's crazy how finicky beers are. State Fair is up north. I'm from Central New Jersey near Great Adventure. She'll know where that is if you tell her. Exit 7A. Yeah, y'all say exits. It's so funny. She always asks about exits. I'm like, we don't talk like that here. We say it's near the McDonald's or it's 5 miles down the road. But yeah, exit 7. I'll tell her about that. She's from like Newark area, so more north. Trying to follow up on second. I can't read that. I've got this thing covering it. BOS something. Oh. Boss 1 with an English mile. I'm not familiar with that terminology. Maybe I'm just I'm too old for these acronyms, I guess. Let me know what that means. BOS. Oh, best of show? Is that what that means? I'm assuming that's what it means. But congratulations, that's awesome. Do I do another one of these? Yeah, I'll do one more 6-pack of 10, and then we're going to move on to 13. Nice. Second place, best of show. Congrats. That's cool. Any new breweries up there near you in New Jersey? Any cool spots that are noteworthy? I think I mentioned this on the last stream a couple weeks ago, that I've been frequenting my buddy's brewery. Austin Beer Works opened a new location, and I've been going out there a lot recently to go play disc golf. So shout out to the Beer Works crew. They opened a dope little facility in East Austin with an amazing disc golf course. So if you like disc golf, if you like beer, that is absolutely the place to be. And I've been back at Black Star quite a bit because I still do live over there. This one had some dirt in it. Okey-dokey. 3 more. Kane, Source, Screaming Hill, Heavy Reel, Manafurkin. Man, I haven't heard about any of those. Maybe Kane. Oh, that's it for that keg. Great. Well, that's it's a bummer, man. But I guess we can just move on to 13. And since I only got like two and a half 2.5 cans on that one. I'm just going to move on, and then we can, I'll label them individually afterwards, so I don't have to take this labeling break. Move the camera around. But I think I only need a couple of 6-packs of this. Yeah. So, yeah. "13-degree Tamave." This will be second to last one that I do a couple of 6-packs for. Oh, how did I forget? Icarus. I know I've heard of Icarus, but I have not been to any of those places. Could you show how you connect your beer gun to the Lucre tap? And are there any issues with line length? Sure. So let's take you on a journey. So this is the beer gun, right? So that connects there with that's just a, worm gear clamp, and connects onto the beer gun. I'm sure you're familiar with that. Goes all the way over here and connects up here to, I need to get my little wire, connects to this beer nut. So this is like I think it's a 1/4-inch barb, and this tubing is like 3/8 or 1/4-inch diameter. I don't know. Anyways, so it connects there to this 1/4-inch barb to this beer nut that has a washer inside. And when these Lucre taps came in, I didn't really notice it, but they have the nozzles that have a nut that keep the nozzle on. So that goes in there, and then that screws on. And I didn't even think about it initially because I was just going to buy a restrictor, but I tried to put a beer nut on here, and it fits on perfectly. So it's threaded, the same threads. If you have a washer, a beer washer in there, it works perfectly. And then you just open it, and the beer comes out here. The length is only about, I don't know, maybe 6 feet of tubing, but that's not a huge concern. It's mostly, honestly, like the more tubing, the better, I would say. Not too much, but the more tubing would create more restriction and therefore make less breakout in the line. So if you are going to get a beer line, like 6 feet or something should be fine. You don't want it too long though, I guess, because if you do have it too long, it'll just tangle your feet up and be annoying. And if you take a break, then all that beer is going to sit in there and get hot, and it's going to lose all of its carbonation, and then you're going to have foamy pores. But yeah, that's how I connect the beer gun. And the cool thing about these Lucres, as far as canning is concerned, which again, I don't even doubt, I know that they did not design these in any way, shape, or form to connect to a beer gun, but they do have restrictor throttles on them. So if you are pouring a beer that has a higher CO2 concentration and it breaks out a lot, has a lot of foamy pores, you can dial that restriction up and it'll pour much slower, but it'll keep all that CO2 in solution so that you don't have to just waste a bunch of beer pouring foam. I've been trying my hand at lagers and struggling to remove the yeast. Remove the yeast taste. Even after the beer drops crystal clear. Any idea what I'm doing wrong? Fermenting at 50 degrees. So when you say yeast taste, what specifically do you mean? Because if you're talking about, if it's a yeast fermentation off flavor, there's nothing that like time or settling out will do unless it's diacetyl. Diacetyl could potentially be in there, and you could remove it given enough time. But if it's a specific off flavor from fermentation, you're either not pitching enough yeast, or you're not oxygenating your yeast well enough, or your wort well enough, or you are not actually fermenting at 50 degrees and you think you are. Literally tastes to me like I'm drinking yeast. Tastes like you're drinking yeast. I don't know. I mean, that's a good one. It could, if there was something else that you could describe that would give me an idea, like if there's another beer specifically, or another, if there maybe like a soda is a bad idea, but some other parallel that you could describe the taste with. Because yeast, I mean, if you literally like at the end of fermentation, you grab a handful of yeast and eat it. If that's what it tastes like, I don't know that, because that type of taste is like very like it's acidic, but also like meaty and yeah, very very specific flavor that I've never gotten in like the actual beer. Uh, yeah, Prue says he's been using S189 lately, and it's been a good lager yeast. Yeah, and it's happening batch to batch, regardless of style. What yeast are you using? If it's happening regardless of yeast strain, you got something else going on. It's not the yeast. Unless you're like, I'm trying to, so my brain's going through this where I'm like, if it's actually like 3470 and celery, or sorry, and Cellar Science writ. I don't know what Cellar Science is. Oh, I guess that's a yeast bank and they a rip off of that. So 3470, what is that, Augustiner? You may just not like that yeast. I mean, I don't know if it's that yeast specifically and you're getting this specific flavor under ideal fermentation conditions, like you're pitching it, you're oxygenating the wort, and you're fermenting at the appropriate temperatures for the appropriate amount of time, you may just not like the yeast fermentation character. And that is honestly, that's probably it, because I do not like a certain yeast character from, I can't remember if it's Augustiner or another Bavarian yeast strain, but there's one lager yeast strain in particular that, yeah, it does have a more full kind of like bready character that I just don't care for. I like the crisp, clean flavor. I'm just splashing the wort. I think it's enough on. Yeah, I was thinking of switching to liquid yeast. Splashing, like shaking. Is that what you mean? I mean, yeah. Without knowing exactly what you mean, the only things that you can control for are pitch the right yeast. So make sure that you're using the yeast that you want to use. Have a beer that's been fermented with that specific yeast strain, and then if you like that fermentation character, use it. If you don't like the fermentation character, it's probably the yeast flavor. So pitch the correct yeast, pitch it in the correct amount. So if you're brewing 5 gallons at a time, pitch double what you would pitch in a traditional ale fermentation. Oxygenate your wort. So you can shake homebrew and oxygenate it. That's fine, but you really have to shake it quite a bit. So if you're just kind of like, barely shaking it, not ideal. But still, you should get some oxygen in there if you shake it pretty vigorously, and then knocking it out and fermenting it at the temperature that you want to ferment at, so 50 degrees in your case, and then letting it ferment at that temperature. Make sure that there's active fermentation, cold crash it, and taste the beer. And if you do all of those things and don't compromise any of those things, don't like, oh, I'll just pitch one thing of yeast, or I'll just not oxygenate it. Do all of those things and you still have that flavor, then you don't like that yeast. So that's kind of the way that I feel about, I don't think I've ever described a beer as like yeasty flavor, unless it just is like heavy with yeast. But I don't like Kolsch very much because Kolsch yeast produces, it's got this ale characteristic that's just more like full, like in the middle of the tongue. It's got this like very specific flavor. I can't put my tongue on, can't put my finger on. And I don't think it's refreshing. I don't think it's particularly enjoyable. So, but that's just me. And I know it's not a flaw from the brewing process. It's just, that's how the yeast character is. It's just not my thing. So. I'm running it through a pump into my fermenter, and that's pretty aggressive pump. I follow your 3-day pressure. I should try pressure fermenting from the start. I don't pressure ferment, just to be clear. I may have talked about it in a video before, but I don't pressure ferment. I should try pressure fermenting from the start to try to remove even more yeast flavor. Well, so here's the thing. If you're following all of the steps that I just outlined and you're actually doing the things that you're saying you're doing in fermentation and knocking out and all that stuff, the solution isn't, let me alter this process to make it less flavorful, or like, let's deviate from the outline process, at least how I talk about brewing lagers in my videos. I would just say switch to a different yeast, because it's, if you're taking something that's giving you a certain result and your solution to that is to try to subdue the fermentation character, even though you're allegedly doing the things that would make it present nicely, just move to a different yeast. If you just want clean, go brew with what's that yeast? I can't remember the name. Go brew with like a really clean lager strain, like a really clean German lager strain that isn't Augustiner. Yeah, my recommendation. Go brew with the Mexican lager yeast. Shit, brew with Chico. That's pretty clean. It's an ale, but it's clean. Oh, what am I doing? I still have to do 14. I'm an idiot. Just trying to close up shop too soon. All right. What time is it? How long have we been doing this? 10:45. What am I looking for? Let's set up the label. And this time, unless y'all say otherwise, I'm just going to leave this one on my face. Cool. All right, 13 degree. I think this one's already locked and loaded inside the label applicator, so I will use that. Twin Monkeys Homebrewing. Beau Tarde. Is that a greeting of some sort? I hope it means cheers. All right. These label. Cheers all. Love it. Where's that from? Is that, I mean, it seems vaguely Spanish, but I'm not familiar with boa. Is that Italian? Some guy, no problem. You're some guy asking questions. I'm just some guy talking into a camera. You all could be bots for all I know. Maybe Russia's sending bots in to infiltrate the brewing channels, try to get a leg up on this next election. Portuguese, got it. That makes sense. I don't think I know any. No, I definitely don't know any Portuguese. So thank you for teaching me. See, I come here to give beer lessons. You give me Portuguese lessons. I love it. Any hot new beer trends that y'all are seeing out on the market? Any specific styles that y'all are drinking recently? I gotta say, this is probably going to be a surprise, but I have been really on a hoppy kick lately. I've not been, I have been leaning more towards pale ales and IPAs when I go out and drink a beer than I have in a long time, which is kind of nice. I really have been craving West Coast IPA, Green Flash West Coast IPA. CBD beer, getting a lot of shelf space around here. Yeah, CBD and THC. I don't know if y'all have THC beers yet, or not beers, because that's illegal, but THC beverages. It's crazy. It's crazy. We're here in Texas. THC and weed are totally illegal. They have always been illegal. And yet you can go and buy a 6-pack or a 4-pack of these like CBD juice seltzer drinks they will get you high. It's insane. Loopholes, man. Loopholes. Got to get a couple of 6-pack carriers. For those of you that follow CH and Homebrew for Life, I know he talks about that peanut butter seltzer that Zool makes, and seems like a lot of people are making. Do y'all see that anywhere? Peanut butter and jelly seltzer, funky stuff like that. And if you do you like that stuff? Do you drink that stuff, or is that not for you? Always curious, because again, I am not. Our barrage, who art in Knoxville. Yeah, I don't really gravitate towards those types of things, but I am not the average craft beer consumer, like I've said 1,000 times. So it's hard for me to gauge what the masses are doing. Like, are people, I don't know, people trading for that stuff? Do y'all still go on Beer Advocate and trade with people across the country, or is that done? Everybody pretty much localized now with so many breweries. Fruited sours, rosé, run most of the breweries in Louisiana. That is super interesting. Fruited sours and goes, not rosé, Goza in Louisiana. I mean, it makes sense. Super hot. I'm curious to see how that plays out, because fruited sours specifically are like on the major downtrend on a national scale. Yeah, they've lost a lot of market share. I don't know, or just kettle sours or sour beer in general. And for those of you that know Jester King, which I would be shocked if you don't know Jester King, they've completely pivoted their model from doing mostly mixed culture beers to mostly clean beers now. So, sign of the times. Those funky and sour beers are just not the draw that they used to be. Brew Show and CH brewed a PB&J and sent it to each other. Did a couple of videos on that. Yeah, I saw those videos. I was just curious if that was more of a local thing at, out there in Knoxville at Zool, or if this is a I don't know, national phenomenon. Like, what are the hype beers? Like outside of the PB and J and Fruit, is that like are people still hyped up about different hops and hazy IPAs? Is that still a thing? People still drinking imperial stouts when it's 110 degrees outside? I did see, actually, I had a couple of buddies that were at Dark Lord Day, which was surprising. So a couple of people that I've been friends with in the industry for a long time were out at Dark Lord Day. So I guess that's still chugging along. People like it. I always wanted to make it out to one of those big kind of infamous craft beer releases, but never did. Want to go drink Pliny at Russian River. That's on the bucket list. Okie dokie. Gonna get these tins all 6-packed up. Feel like this is just ASMR for people passively watching this, listening to the label and the paper and the click of the PackTech applicator. Got those extras. Oh man. I'll tell this quick story on here. I had a gentleman, he won't watch this, but it's also not disparaging, so no harm, no foul. But I had a customer last night bring me a bottle of Twisted Tea as a offering, and I thought that was very sweet. But it was interesting receiving a glass bottle of Twisted Tea. I've never seen a glass bottle of Twisted Tea. Should we drink it? I mean, it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. Should I crack this open? $500 on the drop down there, and I drink this beer. And I'm just kidding. Don't do that. I really don't want to drink this. At least I keep myself entertained. That's the most important part, right? Okay, let's knock out this 14, and then that'll be the end of it because my laptop is gonna die. Okie dokie. Rock and roll. CO2, October. Purge the line. Great. I ran out of lids the second that I switched over. I'm a Mosaic and Cashmere hop nut since I love making Santan Brewery's Juicy Jack Hazy IPA clone. I am not a huge fan of Mosaic, not that you asked, but yeah, I got pretty burnt out on Mosaic in the early years of, like 2013, 2014 when it was taken over. But I do like Cashmere in moderation. I used it in a few beers that I really liked it. Didn't like it as the premier hop, but I did like it as a kind of like an accent hop in a hazy IPA. But I mean, it's so cliche, but I love Citra Cascade and Centennial. Those hops are great. Galaxy, another hop that is just amazing. And we used to, here's a sleeper for you. We used to use a lot of Crystal. We had a blonde ale that was one of our more popular beers that we used a lot of Crystal, not Crystal malt, Crystal hops, and it was nice and floral and could be lemony, and yeah, it was a good good little hop. So if you haven't used Crystal, check it out. Definitely not like an IPA hop, but still pretty cool. So I told the Deep Ellum story earlier that they're closing down their production facility and tap room in Dallas. But I had somebody come in last night and I was talking to them about it. And they were like, oh, Deep Ellum, I didn't like their beers anyway, which is always like, anytime a brewery closes and your immediate response is like, they didn't make good beers, or I didn't like their beers anyways. Like, that's fine. Everybody's taste is different. Like, unless they just brewed objectively bad beer with off flavors, then it's just, you just didn't care you had a bad experience or whatever. So, and they did not brew objectively bad beers. They just, they didn't. They had high quality brewers and equipment. Anyways, the point of that was I started talking to them, and he's like, well, what beers did you like from them? What did they make well? And I really enjoy Deep Ellum IPA. I think that beer came on the market in like 2012 when craft beer was just starting to come up in Texas, and there were IPAs out there for sure, but there was like, that was the epitome of what I considered like a Texas IPA, because it wasn't a West Coast IPA. It wasn't super dry and bitter, but it wasn't quite this like Northeastern, not hazy because that wasn't a thing yet, but like East Coast IPA that was more malt forward, like a Dogfish Head. It was kind of in the middle. It was a balance. It had some nice floral and citrus notes, but it was like really easy drinking and balanced. So if anybody out there, plug for Deep Ellum IPA, but go check it out, because I do think that's a really exceptional beer and kind of fits right in the middle for the masses. If you're going to have a brewery that brews beer that's going to be sold to a bunch of people, probably want to have a beer that's going to be not offensive to the most amount of people. So that was good. They had a beer. What else did they have? It was Dream Crusher, their beer. Can't remember if that's Oscar Blues or them, but Dream Crusher was a double IPA, like 9 or 10%. It was nuts. That's old school, baby. Old school craft beer. I don't know if y'all still seek out old school craft beer styles, but sometimes I'm a sucker for them. Sometimes I just want a nice blonde ale or a nice malty pale ale. But I'm gonna go drink some West Coast IPAs this week. I've already made up my mind. I'm burnt out on the hazies. I'm burnt out on the sweetness. I want some bitter, and I want some pine. Oh, shit. I was lucky that landed right in the water bucket. Okie dokie. 3 more cans, and we are going to be out of here. This stream has been going for, just over an hour. We've got 8 people still hanging on. Appreciate y'all checking this out. Hope y'all are enjoying this. If not, I hope you're getting satisfaction watching me look like an idiot. Either way, I hope it's serving you in some way. But yeah, I'm going to finish these 3 cans. We're going to slap some labels on it, and then we're going to log off, and we're going to go grab lunch because we have a full day ahead of us. So if anybody has any other questions, comments, concerns, please leave them in the notes chat below. If you have any beer recommendations that are available in stores of the West Coast variety, leave them in the chat below. I'm going to be drinking a few this week, and I will be maybe I'll let you know what I think about them. I don't know. Maybe I'll incorporate some more beer drinking videos where I talk about other styles that I also enjoy. But I definitely will be drinking some other beers that are not just Czech lagers. So let me know if you got suggestions. All right. Thanks for the stream. Yeah, thanks for joining, man. All right, that's done. Let's grip it and rip it. Home stretch, baby. Home stretch. Where's the 14? 14 team. This is the end where it gets quiet and nobody knows what to say. Nobody knows what to do, myself included. But that's okay. It's not a big deal. Just out here living our best lives. See if anything else is happening in the world. You know, I might be going out somewhere tonight. I don't know. I got nothing, man. Just trying to live the dream. And again, thank you for everybody that has watched this. If you watch the live stream, that's awesome. If you can't make the live stream, this is always up on the channel for rewatching under the stream, under the live tab. And I hope it makes it to you. And the next time, I hope you can jump on and join us live and have some dialogue and do all the fun stuff that it is when you're on the internet in a community, talking beer, labeling cans. All right, last one, and it messed up, of course. So that's it, folks. This is the last can. I'll be logging off, and I shall return hopefully with another video this week. We will be running through service today. Today is Saturday. This is my last day at the brewery this week. So we will be in Austin for the first few days of the week, and then I'll be back up here next week. Stay tuned. If you're not following my Facebook or Instagram, follow me on there if you want more updates about the brewery. And I'll be sure to post some more videos on this channel to give you updates and any other info and hopefully some more educational stuff. There's a couple of comments in here that I think I'm going to address on a video that I think are topical for the homebrewing audience. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.